The night shift is usually quiet, just the hum of the refrigerators and the occasional car passing by. But sometimes, night brings things that aren't supposed to be there, things that watch you from the shadows. Pause. My name is David, and after what happened last Tuesday, I'm never working the night shift again. Listen closely, because this could happen to anyone. It was 3 a.m. A thick fog had rolled in, swallowing the highway. I was sitting behind the counter of a remote gas station in Nevada. I was scrolling through my phone when I heard it. Soft, rhythmic thumping on the roof. Thump, thump, thump. I thought it was just a stray animal. But then, power flickered. The lights buzzed and went out for a full 5 seconds. When they came back on, a man was standing right outside the glass door. He was tall, unusually tall. He was wearing a tattered raincoat, but his face was hidden under the shadow of a wide hat. He didn't move. He just stood there, staring at the door handle. I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. I shouted through the glass, "We're closed. Come back in the morning." But he didn't leave. Instead, he slowly raised his hand and pressed it against the glass. His fingers were long, too long, like they had extra joints. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was a notification from the back office security camera. I looked down at the screen, and my blood ran cold. The camera showed the back door, the one I was sure I had locked, wide open. And on the floor, there were wet, muddy footprints leading directly toward my office. I looked back at the front door. The tall man was gone. He had vanished into the fog. But then, I heard a sound from the vents above my head. A wet, dragging sound. I realized then, the man outside was just a distraction. Whatever was in that raincoat wasn't the real danger. Real danger was already inside the building with me. I grabbed my keys and ran for the front door, but it wouldn't open. It was locked from the outside. I turned around, and there, standing at the end of the dark aisle, was the man in the raincoat. Only this time, his hat was gone. He didn't have a face, just smooth, gray skin, and a mouth that opened much wider than any human's. I managed to smash the window with a fire extinguisher and ran to my car, driving until the sun came up. I never went back for my paycheck. The police found the station empty, except for one thing, a single, wet raincoat left on my office chair. If you're working late tonight, make sure the doors are truly locked. Never, ever look at the roof. I always thought my house was the safest place on earth. But after last night, I realized that walls don't just keep people out. They can also trap you inside with something you don't understand. It started with a small change. A reflection in the hallway mirror that felt just a fraction of a second too slow. I was brushing my teeth around midnight when I noticed it. I moved to spit into the sink, but in the corner of my eye, my reflection stayed still for just a heartbeat longer than I did. I froze. My heart hammered against my ribs. I looked directly at the mirror, but everything seemed normal again. I told myself it was just exhaustion. I was wrong. That night, I woke up to the sound of wet, dragging footsteps coming from the attic. Drag. Step. Drag. It sounded like someone was pulling something heavy across the floorboards. I grabbed my flashlight and walked into the hallway. The air was freezing, so cold that I could see my own breath. I shone the light toward the attic hatch, but it was closed. Then I heard it, a whisper coming from the big mirror at the end of the hall. It sounded like my own voice, but distorted, like it was coming from underwater. It said, "Don't look at the ceiling." Slowly, against my own will, I tilted the flashlight upward. There, pressed against the ceiling directly above me, was a figure. It was thin, with limbs that were far too long, and skin that looked like bruised parchment. It didn't have eyes, just deep, hollow sockets that seemed to leak shadows. It was staring down at me, its jaw unhinging to reveal rows of needle-like teeth. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I ran for the front door, but as I passed the mirror, I saw my reflection. It wasn't running. My reflection was standing still, watching me with a twisted, hungry smile, while the thing on the ceiling began to drop. I barely made it out. I'm staying at a hotel now, and I've covered every single mirror with a black sheet, because I know it's still there, and it's waiting for me to look again. If you're watching this near a mirror, don't turn around. Just keep your eyes on the screen. Subscribe to Dark Scared Files if you want to see tomorrow. Stay safe if you can.